Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
Welcome again to another All Out Leadership Podcast. Name brands. We're going to talk about a name brand today. We see this here in the fourth church, the Church of Sardis. Revelation chapter 3, verse 1. To the angel of the Church of Sardis, write, I know your works, that you have a name, that you are alive, but you are dead. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain and are ready to die. History has taught us that having a name brand does not guarantee you're going to last forever. So this church overestimated their name, overestimated their brand, and thought, man, we're doing amazing. Well, by what standard? At the end of the day, it's the standard that Jesus establishes that matters. I can always look down the church street and find another church that, oh, hey, I think we're a little more evangelistic than that church, or hey, we're doing more in the community than our church. Other churches are not the standard by which we can measure our church. It's the standard that God gave us as Element Church, and who God's called us to be is the standard. And so we may have a name in a community, but that cannot be confused as the applause of God. And here's this important statement. Do never confuse the applause of man as the approval of God. They are not the same thing. So as an organization, you may right now have community recognition. You might have name brand. But hey, you remember the name brands? Blockbuster, Toys R Us, Circuit City, and we could go on. They all had name, they all had brand, and you know what? They're no longer here. So it's very, very important that you don't just fully trust in the name brand that you have. And there's a ton of great books out there on this, but I just wanted to show you that this is actually a biblical principle. So they're the organizations that, fall because of hubris, because they have a name and they have, market share, and does not guarantee that they're going to be here tomorrow or in the near future. So Jesus gives some important tips for us. He goes, look, be watchful, strengthen the things which remain. In other words, go back and remember the basics. Often you see the organizations that fail, they're the organizations that lose the thing that got them where they were. So whatever your core product is, continue to be good at that core product. So I want to give you a principle because as you grow, as you expand, the danger is over expansion and losing your core product. So I love a principle that I've heard that we've used for years, and it's called explore without commitment. So if you're wanting to expand, don't abandon the thing that got you here. And again, obviously, unless it's obsolete, but if it's a core product that's still profitable, still functional, keep that strong, then explore without commitment, which leads to the next principle, and that's this. Never bet the farm. So as you're expanding, go ahead and explore, but never bet your core, which is your bread and butter. Never bet the farm on a new decision that you're making. So for example, here at Element Church, we're a multi-site church. Well, we started with one campus. We knew that ultimately we would have more campuses. And what we would love to see ultimately inside of the St. Louis region is anybody within the 2.8 million people in the St. Louis area to be able to drive 20, 25 minutes and reach an Element Church campus. St. Louis could easily sustain 6, 7 good Element Church campuses, life-giving campuses. And so I go, if we have 7, we got 3 now, so another 4, maybe 5 campuses, we could reach the St. Louis metro area, and anybody could experience an Element Church service and environment and a 20, 25-minute drive. Now, what we don't do is bet the farm. So because Wentzville is our core campus, it's the campus where the primary funding and the volunteering and our human resourcing comes from this campus. We don't make any decision that jeopardizes the Wentzville campus. So anytime that we've launched, when we launched St. Charles, and then ultimately eventually when it was time to launch our Warrenton campus, we did it in a way to where we mitigated risk. We did it in a way to where we knew it wouldn't overburden any one campus. And so there are times we've launched slower than we would like to, but it was healthy when we did it so that all campuses could benefit and all campuses could be healthy and not anyone suffer. And what you'll often see is the company starts growing and they get excited and, they get people approaching them with opportunities. Look, you don't follow opportunities, you follow God. There's always an opportunity. But just because opportunities are coming doesn't mean you should jump on every one. And so you'll see people that get all excited and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And now they're expanding in 4 different directions. And what they ultimately do is they lose the quality of their core product that's funding these 4 expansions. And then ultimately they seem to collapse overnight. And it wasn't overnight. It was just some really bad decisions that compromised their core. So if you're going to explore without commitment, meaning, do we have an exit strategy? Is there a way that we can do this and try it and test it and not bet the farm in a decision that we make? And so I wanted to share just those thoughts with you. Let me go ahead and finish this verse. For I have not found your works perfect before God. Remember, therefore, how you have received and heard, and hold fast and repent. Therefore, if you do not watch, I will come upon you as a thief, and you will not know what hour I will come upon you. And so if we just take that and put it into the business leadership context, you got to watch, you got to keep a handle on the things that remain. If not, basically you don't know and realize how fast that hour is coming before your demise as an organization. So don't bet just fully in a name brand. You got to continue to do the things that got you to be a name brand and a household name. And then you do need to continue to expand, but do it in a way that is profitable without betting the farm. All right, hopefully that's helpful. See you in our next podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.